Today, once again, we are so fortunate to have Ajahn Supawan join us. And Ajahn is an amazingly prolific author and spiritual guru to write about many important topics like meditation, vipassana, and of course, various spiritual inspiration, uplifting journeys. And so that said, today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that is the sixth sense. Many of us might understand the sixth sense as something paranormal, perhaps something to do with psychic abilities and so forth. But in terms of the sixth sense, though, when you look at Buddha's teachings, for example, and his enlightenment, sixth sense means something totally different. So Ajahn Supawan will explain that to us today. Sawadee ka, Ajahn.
Sawadee ka. Sawadee ka. Yeah, thank you very much, Roselyn, for having me again. Yes, the topic of the sixth sense is quite an important subject, and the understanding between the Western concept and the Buddhist concept, in fact, is quite different. So I would like to take the opportunity today to clarify this subject. With this subject, we're going to start with some practice. You're going to join me, and I'm going to ask you the questions. Okay. I'm going to ask you the question. So I'm going to ask you to tap yourself. Tap, tap, tap. Go on. Tap, tap, tap. Okay. Yeah, just create some sensations on your whole body. It would help you to understand clearer what's going on. Okay, on your laps as well. All over. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, right. You don't have to close your eyes or anything. My question is that at this very moment, what sense you are using to perceive the buzzing sensation all over? I'm going to ask you, are you using your eyes to look at it, to perceive? No, obviously not. Nor your ears, right? Nor your nose, nor your tongue, okay? Can you use your hands to perceive the pain, the buzzing sensation?
I was thinking that this would be the closest sense among the five senses, but that's not exactly it either.
Yeah, it's not exactly, is it? If you use your hand, okay, and then you stroke onto it, what you perceive is the texture of your skin, right? The texture of your skin, whether it's smooth, whether it's rough, whether it's, you know, anything. But you cannot really use your hand, your skin, to perceive the inner sensation within your skin. Yeah, like that. But you feel it, right? You said it, you feel it. That is still another sense there. So what I try to say is that when it comes down to headache, toothache, stomach ache, all these sensations within your skin, we are not using our five senses to perceive all this inner sensation at all. The sensation within the physical body, but we still perceive it. We still perceive all these things, headache, toothache. It means that we have another sense to perceive a headache, toothache, stomach ache, including all these sensations under the skin, right? Okay, so what happened is that the concept of sixth sense in the Buddhist term and the Western term is totally different. According to the Buddha, human is the being with six senses, not five. In opposed to the Western concept, human is the human with five senses: eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. Okay, to perceive sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture. That's all. You see, so in the Western concept, we have five senses. But the Buddha said that human, we are born with six senses. And we are using that sixth sense all the time from day one. And that sixth sense is in fact our consciousness. Our consciousness that we have been talking about from, you know, the beginning of the course, that I talk about a mental eye, an inner eye, a third eye, that connecting with the pineal gland, all these things, a consciousness. So a consciousness, or which I call the mental self with the mental eye. Remember that I talk about the mental self with the mental eye is in fact, or a consciousness basically, is the nature of our sixth sense. And then every sense got to correspond to its own sense object. Can I share screen so that I can bring up this image to help you to understand a bit clearer? So
Yes.
sixth sense, in fact, is a consciousness. The consciousness is the core of life. And this acts as our sixth sense, as well as our inner eyes, our mental eyes, our third eye. This is our sixth senses that humanity, every single human being, you know, they use it from day one. And then every sense, it has to correspond to its own sense object. Can you see this? This will be quite clear.
Yes.
So your eyes will correspond to what? Sight, perceive sight. Ears perceive sounds, nose perceive smells, tongue perceive your taste, and then your skin perceive the texture externally, right? If you want to know that what is this thing feel, you use, everyone use your hand, okay, and then feel it, and everyone will have the same knowledge, okay? So basically our senses are the tool, the fundamental tool for us to explore the world, the external world, explore the external world and find the knowledge, okay, till the end of the universe, to the border of the universe, if there is any, okay? So these are five senses on a physical body. So let me, yeah, it's on a physical body. I got this so incompatible. It's little one is big, one is so small. No, I try
It
to.
works.
Try to. Okay, this act as the physical body that we can see the mirror, and then this little guy, this little guy will be a sixth sense. We will be behind. So these five senses on the physical body explore the external world of sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture, and then we got the sixth sense, which is our mental eyes, our consciousness, our third eyes, okay, within. We can't see this in the mirror, but this part is the core of life, our consciousness, which also acts as our sixth sense. And its corresponding sense object are our headache to the stomach ache, dropping here and there, all this buzzing sensation, everything that happened inwardly under the skin, within the body, okay, are the sense object to our sixth sense. The five senses cannot perceive those. It got to be the right sense, the right tool for the right job. These are the tools. Senses are tool. Apart from headache, toothache, or the sensation under the skin within this body, the sixth sense is still the tool which correspond to another sense object, which are our thoughts and feelings. Thoughts, feelings, and emotion. Or Jerry.
This is one of the most important senses.
Exactly,
And it's
absolutely. And then it's just so strange that not many people understand this. Not even the Buddhists. The Buddha have talked about this 2.5 millennia ago. And I must admit that I didn't understand before. But there was a day that I suddenly, you know, have this eureka moment. I said, oh my God, I can understand what the Buddha tried to tell us. That's how I put down all this systematic teaching. So with this image, you can see clearly that we have six senses, and then each sense will correspond to its own sense object. And it's very clear that our sixth sense of consciousness, or mental eye, third eye, inner eye, correspond to our thoughts, memories, and feelings. You see, Roselyn, like you grow up in the West. When people talk about sixth sense, what do they mean? You tell me.
They mean you can see ghosts, or you can tell the future, or you have this kind of special psychic ability like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and just all of these psychic abilities, or you can read tarot cards or something like that.
Yeah, and communicate with the dead. So can you see that
Yes.
this is the the concept of the sixth sense in the West. This kind of ability can only happen to a small group of people, right? Not everyone, right? Okay, we got 7 billion people in the world. Let's say we have what, 5 million, 10 millions of, people with the psychic ability, but not everyone, right? It's always just a small portion of the people who have the ability of having the sixth sense, but not in the Buddhist term. When the Buddhists talk about this, the Buddha meant every single human being have the sixth sense or have six senses all the same. And that is, is our consciousness. And we use our sixth sense all the time. We have to, because the sixth sense, in fact, is the core of our life. Without the consciousness, we cannot live. Once you know that we have six senses, we adore science. We adore scientific study. So when it comes to the area of our mental problem, like stress, worry, anxiety, breakdown, depression, suicidal, all these things. When we have all these, mental issues, of course, we want to study our mind, that you call mind, in the most scientific way. But you see, according to the Western education, you have only 5 senses. But you want to use these 5 senses to study something within. Something within. As I say, you need to have the right tool for the right job. Because senses are tool. If you want to study, about flowers, what you do, you use your eyes to keep on looking at it. You sniff it, you listen to it, you touch it. You see, these are all a fundamental tool. If you cannot see it clearly, you extend your tool, like have the magnifying glass or something that you can look into the into the quantum level if you want, the very small level. Or if you cannot see further away, you want to study about the star, you extend your sense. You still have to put all these things, toward your eyes, and then look, and then the tool, the device will magnify for you or take you too far away to see something in the distance. Our senses are the very important tool for us to use to find knowledge, to understand things, to understand events, understand phenomena. Come down to mental issue. What is the cause of this mental issue? If you can remember, so I got Tom and Jerry, right? So the pink one, this red one in here, is a mental self or a consciousness or our sixth sense. And what is this one? You still remember?
The water?
The water that I represented, Jerry. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. We've been talking about Tom and Jerry. So Jerry is the carrier of all the problems. Jerry is the carrier of all the problems. And it is Jerry that comes to assault our mental self and cause all this stress, worry, anxiety, cause all this mental issue that happen to everyone. Okay, cause this boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
So basically, in this field, we want to study what's going on within. What's going on within? Why I feel depressed? Why I feel so stressed? Why I have all these, swinging, the mood is swinging here and there, all these things. What's happened to me? You want to study. We all want to study and want to put an end to it, right? Want to put an end to it. But to study this event inwardly, you need the right tool for the right job. And which tool do we have? According to the Western education, do we have that right tool for the right job or not? If we only think that, yeah, exactly, because we only admit that we have 5 senses and not 6. But all these things, Jerry, is the sense object of your sixth sense, right? Jerry is the sense object of your sixth sense. Your sixth sense or your consciousness is the tool is the right tool for the right job to study Jerry, because you cannot use your eyes to see, to look at it. But according to a Western education, we don't have that sixth sense in hand to use it. And this become a big problem. So let me
establish the sixth sense that there is one and use that as a factor to study the other elements and whatever topics they want to study. That would create a whole kind of sequence of new discoveries and amazing solutions too.
Absolutely. Yeah, before we get to that point, we got to really understand what sixth sense is, right? When we don't have the sixth sense at hand, we don't have this crucial, important tool to use to understand, to study the sixth Jerry in our head. So what we do is that we push these four elements into our brain. According to the Buddha, this life form is a life form with 5 components. So you got one part body, which is the only part that you can see in the mirror. Please look at our old clip that I have talked about it already. Okay, we got 5 components. You got your body, and then your thoughts, memories, and your feelings, and then your mental self or consciousness. So these 4 components, these 4 elements, we cannot see in the mirror, but they are there. Your thought, memories, feeling, you cannot deny that you don't have it. And then your consciousness, the core of life, okay, which is, I call it the mental self, which is also your true self. You see, according to the Western approach, because when they don't learn about these 5 components of this human life form, they kind of push these 4 components into the brain, because they only think that we have this body, we have this physical body, and that's it, done. And then this one body, and then 5 senses, that's all we have, which is not true, because the Buddha said that
so many more layers.
we got 5 components with 6 senses. So anyway, this is the only way that they can study about Jerry. So once they push into the brain, okay, they kind of study the brain, how the brain functions. So you can put all the tube, all these, this connection, and then connect it into the computer, and then they turn it into graph. This is the way that they said that they can study the brain objectively. And then when you study like this is the result. Hang on, let me see. The brain expert. So look at this. They conclude that it is our mental, okay, this is our mental imbalance, trouble mind, okay? Our mental imbalance is the result of the chemical imbalance in our brain. So the solution is that you got to adjust the chemical imbalance in the brain by taking the medication. And medication is nothing more than another type of chemical that you put in there so that you can adjust that chemical imbalance in the brain, which means that you got to take medication, which means that your life will got to rely on your pharmacist and doctor. You don't have.
And it's just solving the symptoms, not the root problem. You could kind of help you with the symptoms alone.
Well, it's more of suppress it, because you still have, if you take medication for a number of years, you have the side effect. With the side effect, they got to get another type of, chemical, another medication just to sort out that side effect. That was so, oh gosh, it's so messy, so messy.
Doesn't stop.
Yeah, and then not to mention it make you addicted to the medication as well. So this is the solution of the Western expert, the Western brain expert or mind expert. This is the reason why the pharmaceutical company is just so massive. The reason why it's massive is because people have so much mental issue, isn't it? It's so many mental issues. Yeah, yes. I think the pharmaceutical company, they make more profit than the oil company. And the profit come down to the mental illness among humankind. In the opposite, look at the way that the Buddha deal with our mental issue. So according to the Buddha, our mental issue is because of the bombardment of a whole army of Jerry. Remember, we talked about it, the 4 noble truths. The second noble truth is The first noble truth is the suffering, the noble truth of suffering. The second noble truth is noble truth of the cause of suffering. And I have made it clear to you that the cause of suffering come down just to one word, Jerry. Okay, Jerry is the cause of suffering because Jerry take over your true self, your mental self, which originally is supposed to be quite free, have the freedom. But because of Jerry coming, where Jerry come from your perception, your sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture, these 5 mice.
Yes.
Yeah. So that 5 red mice come in, if in the negative way, turn into dark Jerry and take you over, and then spinning you around like this, chop you into pieces like this. So Jerry is the cause of suffering. Okay, the Buddha really delved into the root cause of human suffering. I come down to one word, Jerry, which I make it easier for you, make your life easier for you. Okay, so according to the Buddha, once you know the cause of suffering, which is Jerry, what you have to do, what you have to purge, who you have to really purge, kick out from your house is Jerry. Yeah, it's Jerry. That's it. That's all you need to do. So what we have to do is practice meditation, the full foundation of mindfulness. The clip that we did the meditation together, Roselyn, I only focus on just the 2 foundation. Focus on your breath, on your physical movement, and your physical sensations, right? That's only the first 2 foundation of mindfulness. I didn't talk about the 3rd foundation yet, because the 3rd foundation of mindfulness, okay, the focus point is in fact Jerry. Oh. The focus point is Jerry. Tittanupassana satipatthana, okay, it's Jerry. But you need to practice the first 2 foundations so that you can reduce the population of Jerry. Because when you are being bombarded by a whole army of Jerry with the combat boots like that, you cannot just go straight to observe Jerry individually. It's impossible. You've got to go through the Buddha strategy. The first and the second foundation, keep on doing all the technique that I taught people to do, tap, 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 and then really focus and cut the cord, always come back home to your breath movement, sensation, all these things, until you can experience this really, calm and void state of mind. When you experience this state of calm and, state of mind, it doesn't mean that Jerry disappear completely. No. In my advanced course, I have a technique to invite Jerry, especially, pink Jerry or dark Jerry to come in. To invite dark Jerry to come in, I got this really ching chap, what you call in English, symbol.
Yeah, symbols.
Symbol, isn't it? Boom, bang. Sometimes I use the the lid of the big pot in the garden, in the kitchen. Bang!
Bang!
You imagine that they're sitting meditation, really calm and quiet, very still in there. And then they close their eyes and suddenly, bang! Like that. Because I want to invite the frightened Jerry, this frightful Jerry, to scratch them, so, and then make your heart thumping, jumping like that. And then I would guide them that look inside, look at Jerry, look at Jerry, look at Jerry, that all this thumping heart, and then take a deep breath. So let's say this is a frightful Jerry, hit your mental self, and then cause a little bit of frightened stir because of the sound. So I said that, okay, look at that feeling, look at that emotion in there, and then take a deep breath. Once you take a deep breath, it's kind of neutralize Jerry, or push Jerry out, and then leave behind this really calm and peaceful sensation again. And this activity, okay, this activity is the study of Jerry in the most scientific way. In the most scientific way, because you got the tool that is your 6th sense, your mental eye, your 6th sense, and then you got the sense object. You see, You got the sense object, and then you look at this. So the third foundation of mindfulness is in fact scientific study, but both the sense and the sense object are non-physical in the energetic form, both of them. That's why it's very difficult to understand, very difficult to teach as well. That's why I need all these props. Okay, both the sense and the sense object that you need to study is all in the energetic form, in the non-physical form. And not just that, it's within this life form, in the enclosure of this life form. But the Buddha make it very clear that for us to practice vipassana or mindfulness meditation, bring your mental self back home, so that you can gradually develop to observe Jerry objectively. This is exactly observing Jerry objectively. Can you see that?
The Buddha really eradicate and purge Jerry more easily.
Yeah, exactly. This is the purpose that we want to achieve. However, the third foundation of mindfulness is a long process. It's a long process. It's a long period of time of making observation. It's very much the same that you want to look at this physical world. Okay, if you want to study the stars, you know, the sky, the cloud, everything, you cannot just look at one time and then you hope to understand everything that's going on up there. Or you want to
slowly collect experiences and observations.
Yeah, you need a long period of time to keep on making observation toward that event, that object that you want to learn, that you want to study. Like the disease, you got to really, you know, put under the microscope and then keep on studying, keep on looking, making observation objectively like that for a long period of time. Likewise, this is what you need to do to make observation toward Jerry for a long period of time. Okay, every time that Jerry come in, it doesn't matter whether it's dark Jerry or pink Jerry that come to, you know, scratch your mental self, you got to train this one to look. And once you look, I compare Jerry as the darkness, whereas this one is light. It's light as illumination. So this light, once shown into the dark will disappear, or Jerry just disappear, because use the analogy of Tom and Jerry. So this is your mental Tom. Before the meditation, before vipassana, your Tom is just really puny and weak, you know, curled up in the corner of the room, you know, being assaulted by a whole army of Jerry. But now you know vipassana. You know vipassana, and vipassana is very much like the vitamin, the essential, you know, food, the good food that strengthen Tom up. Yeah, exactly, strengthen Tom up. So once Tom is stronger, okay, once Tom is strong and alert, Tom will be so vigilant, and then Tom will look after his own territory, which is our mind. Okay, our inner home. We're in the home. Okay.
Our host mind. Yes.
Yeah, our host mind. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you. Tom will look after our host mind for us. And our host mind is the freedom. Okay. It's the freedom. It's very calm and at peace freedom. But Jerry is the component of this life form. So you cannot get rid of Jerry completely. So whenever that Jerry come in, Tom is trained to Jerry. Okay. Tom, once it developed, it got the wisdom as well. You see, once you go into the process of training yourself, mindfulness meditation, okay, this one not only just become really not enhanced, just develop, evolve. You know, this is your
stronger.
Yeah. This is your consciousness. Before that, it just kind of with the low frequency. Yeah, if we want to talk about energy, you know, it has the low frequency, low vibration. But the meditation will increase the vibration of this consciousness frequency into the higher level, which make it more receptive to whatever that's going on. So kind of that Tom is strong now, and Tom really look after, you know, his territory. So whenever that Jerry come in, Tom is so strong and then so alert. Let's talk the Tom and Jerry language. He will sift through, he will screen that what type of Jerry that Tom will invite, except, you know, to let it come into our house, into our mind, into our head, into our heart, so that we can function alive in the most positive way, in the most creative way, in the way that will give us the well-balanced, you know, way of life. Okay, Tom will screen this for us. Okay, so whenever that Jerry, that is a negative Jerry come in, Tom won't accept that. Tom won't accept that. And then Tom will just, Jerry, you go away. Go away. I don't want you. That is about, you know, cutting the cord, go away. But Tom will accept the creative thoughts and feelings, because we need to lead a life. To live a life, we need to use Jerry. We need to use
passion.
Yeah, we need to have passion. We need to have inspiration. We need to have the creative thoughts, all these things. And all these are Jerry. So Tom will be quite selective. This one is intelligent. It's intelligent, full of wisdom. Okay, it's do its own thing. You know, it's going to sift through, to screen for you. Yeah, but you need to have a long period of time to practice meditation, to observe Tom over and over and over. And between all this, between this long period of time of making observation of Jerry, there will be time that you still being bombarded by a whole army of Jerry, like this picture. But because you have been trained, yourself, and then you won't go into this dark state for too long, because sooner or later you remember that, no, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. So you use all the technique that I teach you to, you know, doing swinging the arms, you know, meditation, all these things, you know, fight Jerry. And then sooner or later, you'll be break free. You will break free from Tom. And then you will have your host mind back again. And all these events, it just come back to confirm you that this host mind is the best, is the best. And that, yeah, because this is who you really are. I am. This is the state of I am. Not I am this, I am that. No, just I am.
I am.
Just be. Just be. Finish. Just be. Oh, innocent perception. Just be. Perceive everything as they truly are, and then stop. This is the source. This is the state of nirvana, the state of Godhood, the state of return to source. Okay, Tom, a mental self will know, because through a long period of time of making observation, and they know the difference between this state of mind and this state of mind. Tom get wiser and wiser every day, and then this one will be more inspired to put more effort into the practice, so that our mental self, you know, can be with the freedom more often. I want to emphasize for you that this practice of the third foundation of mindfulness, which got to take quite a long period of time. I normally tell my students that give yourself 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or
as much time as you need,
even 20 to 30 years, just for you to really truly understand how Jerry works within. How Jerry worked within. Okay, it takes that long. I think it took me about 15 to 20 years, I would say. But I was lucky that during the student year, I suddenly have experienced this state of mind, this mental space. And then this mental space, it just stick with me. These are only label. All these words are only label. It's not the real things. The real thing, the real experience is within. Okay, source, oneness, isness, God, nirvana, innocent perception. It's whatever label that you want to use, that you feel resonate with you or connect with it. That's fine, because it can inspire you further. I want to point this one out, that the Western knowledge is just so ambiguous when it comes down to the spiritual knowledge. Like this picture, Vinana or Vinyana Khan, that in Thai we call, okay, the 5 components. The last component of consciousness. So we got the physical body, we got thought, memories, and feelings, and we got consciousness or mental self. This component, the Buddha called Vijnana, consciousness. Can you see that the Buddha used only one term, whereas in the Western education, we have so many words to represent what's going on in here. Inside, and make a knowledge is just so cloudy. There is no clarity there. So you could have the word mind. So I make it clear for people in my book, The Four Noble Truths, that when you use the word mind, let's point it to Jerry, at thoughts, memories, and feelings. Okay, so you call mind in opposed to your consciousness. They're different. And then you got the word soul, spirit. Soul, spirit, I'd like to refer to a mental self, Vijnana. And then you've got the 6th sense, which refer to the psychic ability. Mental sense, mental eye is my word. And then you've got the word ghost, and then you got the word consciousness. And then there are some people, some scientists who could work it out that, hang on, when it's come down to our headache, toothache, stomachache, we did not use our 5 senses to perceive. And what sense do we use then? So someone make up another word, and that word is interoception. The perception that perceive interior, right? Interoception, headache, toothache, stomachache. That's another terminology that they created. And then someone also think quite deeply. And they said that, hang on, when we walk, you see, when you walk, Roselyn, you don't always look at your feet, do you? As you are walking. No, we don't look at our feet. But at the same time, we do know that we are stepping forward, right? We do know. Put your hand on the top, and do all this gesture, You see. So I cannot see, I mean, without the camera, of course, I cannot see my hand wiggling, moving my fingers back here. I cannot see, but I can feel it. The word I can feel it, it means that our 6th sense is perceiving the motion of our hands, but we cannot see it with our eyes or with our 5 senses, but we know that something going on, my hand doing this. And what sense do we use? We use a 6th sense, right? We use a mental eye. You see, to the Buddha, it's quite straightforward. But in the West, you don't have the term for it. So someone have to create another word, and that is proprioception. So proprioception is the perception of the motion, the movement. You see, that you cannot perceive with your 5 senses. Can you see the ambiguity of this knowledge in terms of the 6th sense?
It just makes it sound very relative, very subjective, and like you said, very, because of all of these, you could say, interpretations of what the 6th sense is. But if we can just accept and acknowledge that we have a 6th sense, just as the Buddha had told us, then
a long time ago.
Could solve a lot of problems.
So what I try to convey to the world really is that if we use the Buddha's structure, 5 components with 6 senses, we have no problem to learn at all. Can you see that? The Buddha's view is totally in the opposite from the brain expert. Our mental self is being attacked from Jerry. Is the main cause that cause the chemical imbalance in our brain. The solution is totally in the opposite. So my expert thinking that the chemical in the brain caused this boom, boom, boom. But the Buddha said that no, it is this boom, boom, boom from Jerry caused the imbalance of the chemical in the brain. Because the solution will be totally different. The solution, according to the Buddha, is that we got to practice vipassana, push Jerry away, kick it out of our house, which make us become our own self-refuge. We rely on ourselves. rely on our effort to deal with Jerry without having to use any medication at all.
Solution is within us, but according to Western standards, the solution is external, while as according to Buddha's view, the solution is internal.
Yeah, exactly.
Contrast.
Yeah. And make us, you know, become our own self-refuge, which means a lot. And this would change the world. This piece of knowledge would really change the world, because the world now, we just, you know, rely on the pharmaceutical, the medication that can help to mend, you know, our mental issue, but not the Buddha. But it's a shame that this area of knowledge, even the Buddhists, they are not that clear. Let's talk about an individual, one person who lost the use of their eyes, become totally blind. Okay, can you see that? That person, you know, the entire world of sight collapsed right away. Just being blind of a one individual person, or deaf, become deaf. The entire universe of sound collapsed. And this is a massive loss for just one person who become blind or deaf. Now, we are talking about humanity who do not accept the existence of a sixth sense. At the moment, our entire global education is still based on the fact that humans have one solid form and five senses. That's all there is to it. The mind, everything is all exists in the brain. This is the structure of human life form. Okay, so one component, one physical body with five senses, in opposed to the Buddha's knowledge. The Buddha's knowledge is that we have five senses, we have five components with six senses, and that sixth pair is within. The sixth pair is a consciousness or mental self, and then Jerry. The sixth pair is all within. But we do not accept this part of knowledge that the Buddha have given humanity 2.5 millennia ago. We do not recognize the existence of human sixth sense. We do not recognize. So our entire education system is all still based on the fact that human has only one solid form and five senses, that's all. They don't talk about the sixth pair, our consciousness and Jerry, Tom and Jerry. They talk about consciousness, they talk about the mind, but the knowledge is so scattering. It's so scattering, you know, and it's just so cloudy and ambiguous when it comes to the point that, okay, I know what you say now. I just want to get rid of all these problems, my stress, worry, anxiety, breakdown, depression. How can I get rid of it? And they offer you what? Medication. They offer you pills, which not everyone wants to do that. And then you go to all these alternative way. So come back to this blindness. In not recognize the existence of humans' sixth sense, it means that the entire humanity, every single one, our mental eyes is kind of being blindfolded or being blind. The entire humanity being blinded by our own Jerry. And there is no word that can describe this level of catastrophe, spiritual and mental catastrophe. I cannot find a word that can describe this catastrophe. The entire humanity, they lost the use of their sixth sense all the same. If you can remember what I say is that these five senses can only work because of the sixth sense, right? Because we have consciousness, that's consciousness allow our eyes to see, allow our ears to hear, allow our nose to smell, our tongue to taste, allow our body, our skin to feel the texture. Okay, so our sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture can only happen because of the existence of this sixth sense or consciousness. But this sixth sense can be blind by our own Jerry. So when you see the world, through the veil of Jerry, Jerry is very much like a shade now. The shade of whatever color that you wear, you would see the world according to the shade of the color that your mental self wear. So if it's a negative Jerry, even though the sun shines, the flowers, the garden is so beautiful, this negative Jerry will turn your sight into something so negative as well. I can't see any beautiful in that garden. The sun is too bright, it's too hot. I don't like it. You see that? We see this, like the perception that normally is just neutral. Perception normally is neutral or innocent perception. That perception can be manipulated or twisted by our own Jerry. It all depends on whether at that time, you know, the Jerry shade is a black Jerry or is a pink Jerry or pink Jerry. If pink Jerry, oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, even though it's rain, you know, stormy or snowing or this and that, oh, I still like it. It's so beautiful. I love the moment. Oh, it's so fresh. I don't mind the rain. Can you see that? Can you see that? It's all come down to what type of Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, all come down to what type of Jerry you have that moment, you know. But if it's a sunny day, but if you're the black Jerry, you cannot understand. You cannot enjoy it.
Too hot, or
yeah. Well, people who are depressed and feeling really low, they got this dark Jerry with them. So even though the sun shines, you know, the flower is there, they see nothing. They see nothing. All they see is their own problem. It's my problem, my pain, my problem, my pain, my this and that. They cannot see anything. Can you see that? Okay. And this is what happened to the world right now. Everyone, the reason that we are fighting over the different type of Jerry. The world is still as it is. You know, the tree is always the tree. Yeah. But because when people have different Jerry, they fight over the Jerry, especially when it comes down to the political issue, religious issue, all these things, you know, the fighting is just so aggressive and so, you know, widespread. But this is all come down to not knowing the existence of our sixth sense or mental eyes. So everyone become blind by their own Jerry. 4 type of Jerry. If you go look in another clip, we did the 4 type of Jerry. So 4 different shades of Jerry that you see the world, you know, according to Jerry portray for you. According to Jerry portray for you. And then we fight over the different type of Jerry. You know, my God is better than your God. My teacher is better than yours. No, this is better. No, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. And you know what? Everyone is right. It's right in a way that this is exactly what they see. Isn't it? Because you see through your shade, you know, it's exactly what you see. You see pink. Yes. How can you say that there is blue? It's pink. But because they wear blue shade. When they wear blue shade, they see blue. And you wear pink shade, you see pink. Both of them are right. But both of them are wrong in the sense that they see through the veil of Jerry. So both of them got to take Jerry off, purge Jerry, and then they will see things as they truly are. Innocent perception, seeing God. Bingo. Hallelujah. Can you see that? Can you see what I tried to say?
Yes.
I mean, the Buddha is just so wise, and oh, I love him. I love him. In fact, he put down all these concepts so clearly. But 2.5 millennia gone, people nowadays, Buddhists nowadays, they cannot understand. They only just memorize. That's all we do. Memorize, recite. but no real understanding. So this is the blindness across the board in humanity, in not recognize the existence of a sixth sense officially.
I think after today, after everybody has gotten a good look and a good listen to your explanation about this sixth sense and one of the most important senses, it'll lead them toward that development of understanding and eureka as well.
Eureka. This field of knowledge really is supposed to be addressed in the United Nations, because this is a really massive subject for humanity. The Buddha gave this knowledge to humanity and everyone have the sixth sense all the same, but it has never been recognized all this time. And this is the reason why all this mess in the world right now. And all this disclosure, is all about trying to help people to understand this, but still the knowledge is still quite scattering, quite scattering and ambiguous. Everyone, they all know the problem, and they don't want the problem, and they want to get rid of the problem, but they don't know how. Among all this knowledge, they just tell you, go and meditate and find yourself within. How can you just close your eyes and find yourself within without the groundwork, without the theory part of the knowledge? You've got to give them something to work on. And this is what I try to do. I try to do my best with my broken English. Okay.
Oh, no. Thank you so much. I think that
but with your help, you can help a lot. Yeah. Okay. Carry on. Sorry.
Well, with this knowledge, just going to recap, is that when you realize you have more than five senses, more than sight, touch, taste, smell, and more than all those five senses, you have this sixth sense, which is the mental self that experiences the Jerry's, experiences feelings, emotions, and pain within, and so much more. You can actually take that and exercise that sensory, that sixth sense, exercise the Tom, exercise the mental self to make it stronger, to be able to purge all of those elements that don't serve you. And then once you strengthen Tom, strengthen your mental self, strengthen your sixth sense, you can take that to a whole new level, which we'll talk about next. And that is intuition, strengthening and intuition, right? Sad.
Yeah. Before we move on, can I just show you this story, tell you this story?
Yes, please.
About Martin. You saw the picture earlier. I think it's quite important because there are so many people who have this problem, and then they don't know how to tell the world. The proof of the sixth sense, Martin was trapped in his inner world for 16 years. Martin originally is from Johannesburg, South Africa. When he was 12 years old, he had the fit. So once he had this seizure, he was taken to hospital, and that at one stage, he was on this gurney. Okay, the doctor on one side, the mom and dad on the other side, and the doctor told the parents that, okay, Martin is in the vegetative stage now. His brain is all damaged, and that's it. And he only kept alive because on the life support machine. So it's all come down to you now. You got to make decision. You want to keep Martin alive, just only the body working, the brain is all gone. You keep the life support on. But if you think that it's no good because there is no quality of life, you only just pull the plug and then Martin will go. But Martin was only 12. Mom and dad could not do that. So they told the doctor that it's okay. We're going to take Martin home. At least he's breathing. He's with us. So they took Martin home and then keep the life support on. Okay. But it's only a matter of 1 month. The caring is just too much. So they transfer Martin into a care home for the patient like Martin. So Martin was there for 16 years in the care home. Okay. So this is the story of Martin. Now, come after 16 years, the story that I'm going to tell you further is what Martin came out and tell the world.
Oh, wow.
I tell the world, because this story have everything to do with the sixth sense. So Martin said that on the day that he was on the gurney with the doctor one side, mom and dad on the other side, and the doctor told mom, if you want to keep Martin alive, we should keep the life support on. If you think that Martin got no quality of life, you know, we just pull the plug. He could hear everything. Martin could hear everything because his sixth sense, okay, his consciousness, his sixth sense had no damage. The damage is only damage the physical body, the brain. According to the Buddha, the brain belongs to this solid component. It got nothing to do with the consciousness. Consciousness is another part, is the energetic form that locates in this body, that's all within. But it won't affected by the viruses that attack Martin on the physical level. So it means that Martin was trapped in his own world within, in the silent world without, because of this body breakdown. So therefore the bridges is all broke down. He cannot communicate with the outside world. But anyway, he could perceive everything. He could hear, although he could not talk. Within, there is nothing wrong. So he's Tom and Jerry. So he have this really fearful, frightful Jerry. Panic, you see. And he tried to tell the world, tried to tell his mom, tried to tell the doctor by saying that, Mom, I'm here. Look, I'm here. I'm still here. I'm not dead. And don't pull the plug. I don't want to die. And then Martin said that he tried to, swing himself back and forth for the outside world to know that, look, I'm still alive. But according to the outside world, his body was stay like that on the gurney, couldn't move. And he could not communicate with the outside world. So he was in real panic for a 12 years old boy. Anyway, at the care home, everyone, they all look at Martin as a cabbage, Okay, his brain is all become in a vegetative state now. So Martin know nothing. So according to Martin, he said that, so wherever they put him in whatever position, he would be in that position until the next carer come to move him in another position. So Martin said that my world is just the ceiling. My world, just the ceiling. Every day that the ceiling is my world. And the most exciting time is that the day that there are some flies, flying into the ceiling, or have a spider, crawling. That was the most exciting moment of Martin's life. You want to cry for him? You want to cry for him? That was his world, because he could not move. All his, neural system is all collapsed. So, and then the nurse or the carer, they don't think that Martin would sense anything at all. So sometimes, the soup was really hot. They just keep on shoving into his mouth without caring. And he screamed because he could feel, it scalded his skin. Oh, it's too hot. And then he tried to move himself. But outside, no one saw him. He's just like a lump of meat that he just lay still in bed, that's all. Can you see that? His inner world is Tom and Jerry. The viruses cannot attack that because it's in the energetic form, cannot attack it, And then it's still very much receptive toward everything. It just cannot respond, that's all. And the story come down to a physiotherapist. A physiotherapist in the later 3 or 4 years before he came out, okay, this really nice and kind physiotherapist treat Martin just like a normal human being. So whenever that she comes, she will talk to Martin. Hello, Martin, how are you? Okay, today I'm going to do this and that with you. It's a lovely day out there. He's just chatting with Martin. And Martin heard everything. Okay. And then Martin tried to communicate with this therapist through his eyes. through his eyes. And because this therapist is kind and observant as well. So he keep on looking at his eyes, and then he said that, and then he tried a few things, you see, to correspond with Martin. And then she was sure that Martin was corresponding with him. So she rushed to the doctor. Doctor, come, quick, have a look. I'm sure that Martin still have the brain wave. And then cut the story short. After that, there is another 4 major operation. 4 major, because it's 16 years, a long time, you know, so all the organ, everything, you know, so they got to, you know, 4 major operation and do this and do that. And you see that Martin came out like that.
Wow.
Come out like, even though he could not walk in the wheelchair, but he come back, you know, still very handsome, from 12 to 28 years old. Okay, this story is just so amazing, so amazing. And that girl that he married is a British girl. I think it's her brother, who was like a social worker, you know, worked with Martin in South Africa, and then later on, you know, introduced, and they got married in the end. Such a happy ending story. Really happy ending story. You see that? It's just so amazing. But this kind of story in the Western medicine, they want to bury it. They want to bury it because there is no theory to back up this, to back up Martin's story, because of the non-recognition of the existence of a sixth sense. But if come to the Buddhist knowledge, I mean, it fits in so perfectly. If you can explain, you know, so nicely, because this sixth pair, it cannot be affected by the viruses. So all this story about the near-death experience, the out-of-body experience, it's all come down to the adventure of your sixth sense of this pair.
Which everybody has.
Which everybody
so has. As a miracle, because everybody can have the same.
Everybody have. But can you see that this field of knowledge, they don't like to talk about it. They don't like to talk about the mainstream. They don't like to talk about it because they are so limited to explain what is what. Without recognizing the existence of the sixth sense, you cannot talk about it. There is no knowledge to back up. You see that? So this is a big subject. The sixth sense is really a big subject. And I hope that this could lead to the future. I hope that someone in the future will take on this knowledge and then take to a further stage, trying to help humanity by have the mainstream education. The mainstream education recognize the existence of this human sixth sense, okay? And then everything got to change. Everything got to change drastically, because it means that we got to train our children to improve the ability of their sixth sense from day one. At the age of 4 or 5 years old, we got to train them to do something that will enhance, that will develop their sixth sense. Learning meditation, doing Tai Chi, doing yoga, doing all sorts of things, and then keep on telling. And then if we can train our children from 5 years old, all the way to university level, all the way to our everyday life, the sixth sense got to be number one, got to be priority, subject of learning all the time. And then the world will change toward peace on earth in no time at all, in no time at all. So I hope that this would prompt someone to do something further, something really a big step further. Okay. Thank you, Roselyn, to bring this subject up. I always love talking about this subject.
Me too. And this subject will open so many doors to new studies and new research and just new realizations. It's a big door to open to many other doors. And it's also the most important senses to acknowledge and to exercise and brush up and strengthen. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Lovely. Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and for more information, please visit buymeacoffee.com website by clicking the link under this video description. You can download some of Super One Green's free books, or you can purchase them. There are also some digital files of Super One Green's teaching media available for download as well. You can also become a part of our Bring Your Mental Self Back Home community. You can join activities like Piggy Bank and Life-Saving Bags projects or workshops and seminars. If you would like to support Super One Green's work and our community's projects, you can subscribe and become a member on Super One Green's YouTube channel or buymeacoffee.com. Your support is gratifying. Thank you for your support.